Hello everyone. So this is quick demo of Angular CRUD operation which I have implemented. So the Angular version which I'm using here is Angular 11, which is latest one. So let me just show you how I can add an employee, how I can update, how I can delete it. Okay, let me start with adding one employee here. Let's add a name, Alex, email address, salary. Let's click on add. So you can see the record is added. Let me update one of the employee details. Let's update this first one. So let's increase the salary to 80,000. Click on update. So in this way we can update the salary as well. If you want to delete, we can delete the record as well. Just click on delete. There will be a confirmation. Press OK. So record has been deleted successfully. So this was all about an Angular CRUD which we're gonna do right away. This will be all step by step. So please follow my step to implement this. Hello everyone. So in this today's video, we're gonna learn like how we can perform an Angular CRUD. All right. So there are some few things which is required. Like while getting into the video, you must have Node installed on your system. How you can do it? You just have to go on Google it and you just go to this site, and from there I would recommend you guys to install this version 14.16.1, which has a LTS support, long-term support. The second thing is required here is Angular should be installed on your system, and how we can do it, you just go to this website. Here it will be have a step how we can do it, and this will be only done once we have a npm node package manager is there in our system. So these two things is very important before going further. And step number 3 and step number 4, which it will be covered in the video when I'll show you how we can have a fake JSON server and a Bootstrap setup for our application. So let's create a folder first. Let's create a project, and how we can create a project, that is also mentioned on this website, how we can create a new project. All right, so I will be following these 3 commands to do it. Let's go here and let's type cmd, hit enter. Now we are in this folder, right? Angular training. So let's create our new project. How we can do it? It's ng new in your project name, Angular CRUD. So it will ask you for this, so press yes. Do you need a routing? Press yes. Let's have a by default CSS. Once your application is installed, then you can see it has been successfully done. All right, so let's go inside the folder and see what things we get. So let's open up our VS Code. So you guys can use whatever you prefer, but I prefer VS Code. Let's type code dot to open it. So now I'm inside my project. So we do have our source file here. All right, so everything is there. So let's now do step number 3 and step number 4. All right, let me copy this. We need to install a fake JSON server where it will have all my collections of employee which I will be creating. Let's install it. Right, so it is been installed successfully. Now let's do the setup of Bootstrap, how we can do it. All right, just go to Bootstrap. And from there you need to copy 2 things. CSS and JS file, and you have to paste it in index.html. So here you can paste it. And let's copy the JS. Let's paste it here inside the body. Let's click on save. Alright, so now we have like completed all the basic requirement which was there to start things off. All right guys, so once you have created your new application, so let's just do ng-serve and see what we have. So this is what we get once we have successfully created our new application. You can see this Angular CRUD app is running and everything is there. Okay, so now let us just create our component for employee dashboard, which we have just saw on the quick demo. Let's create that. And how to create it, as you guys know, that I have already teased that in one of our session. Ng generate component employee dashboard. So our component is created now. Let's check if this is working, this we can view on the web or not. But before that, just copy this template, this selector, and paste it in app component.html. Remove everything and just paste it as it is. Now just click on save, and let's just check this web application. So yes, we can see that employee dashboard works. So now inside this we need to create our navigation bar on the top, and then all the rest of the other tables and that add button, selector, and all that. So that we will do right away. Right, so let's just create the navigation bar first. We will have a bootstrap nav bar, so let's give a class nav bar. We'll use a light nav bar here, so let's give nav bar light, and we need to have nav bar bg as primary. Alright, so inside our nav bar we will have a container, and in the container we will have our heading. Let's give the heading as Angular CRUD. Alright, and inside that we will have a button which was on the right side. So to make it right side, we can use the class bflex. Alright, and we can have a button here, bootstrap button. We can give a class btn, and the color of the button should be primary. Not primary, let's keep it green color, success. Let's give a name, add employee. Alright, let's save it and let's check the changes. Alright, so we do have our navigation bar right now with the button add employee. This should be white color, would look great here. Let's change the style for this. I'll write inline CSS here for it. Let's save and let's check now. Okay, now this is perfect. So we have created our navigation bar. Alright guys, so once our table has been the navigation bar has been created, let's create our table now. So I will be using bootstrap table here as well. So we'll have a table, and the table should have a header, sorry. So let's have a header for that, and let's create headings. Alright, so inside which I will have my scope of this is a column. So I'll have total of 6. Salary. I will also create one more here, and this will be for action for our edit and delete. Let's keep the scope as column only and let's save it. So we have our header now. Now let's have a table body. Alright, so that is t body, inside which we will have our row, and inside which we'll have our data, table data. Alright. And inside the action we will have our two button edit, and we'll have button delete. Let's save it and let's check the changes. Okay, so we do have our table here. All right, so let's make use of Bootstrap now. Let's just give this class as table. Right, and let's save it and let's check. Okay, so we have our Bootstrap table, but the button is not looking good. So let's style the button by using Bootstrap classes. Okay, now you can see it's look good. All right, so I think there must be some margin on the top as well. Let's give a margin top by MT3. This will give some margin on the top of the table. Yes, we do have a gap now. So in this way we have created a table, a Bootstrap table. All right. Okay, so now what we have to do, we have to just open up a model by clicking on this add employee. A model should open, so that we will do now. Right guys, now what the now requirement is, when we click on this add employee, it should open up the Bootstrap model here. So for using model, let's go on Bootstrap and just copy the code snippet of a Bootstrap model. All right, let us copy this and paste below the table. Right, so we don't need this button. All right, we just need the tags, whatever it is using. So let's copy this tag and paste on our add employee tag which we have created. Button, remove this class because we have already class for success for to making it green color button. All right, let's remove that class and let's save it. And we also don't require this button anymore now, so let's delete everything. Now let's check the output. Click on add employee. Yes, so now our model is working perfectly fine. So let's just give some title to the model. So this will be basically employee detail. All right, and we have a save changes. Let's change it to add. All right, let's save it, and we must have our content inside it. So inside the content we will have our form, which will consist of your first name, last name, email, salary, and all that. Let's save it and check the changes. Okay, so we have this now. All right, so for form we'll be using this Bootstrap form. Just search for form in this, right, and copy one of it. Let's have this one, and inside our content, model content, all right, we will paste this. Let's paste our form inside the body. Okay, so let's remove all the unnecessary things which is not required. So let's have this as first name. The input type should be text. All right, let's have this as last name. Input type should be text as well. We don't need this checkbox. All right guys, this checkbox and submit button which we are seeing right now here. Okay, so I haven't saved it yet, so but we don't need this checkbox. Let me show you what. So we don't need this, so let's remove it. Let's remove this submit button and this div. All right, let's save it. So now we have our first name and last name. So let's check it. Click on add employee. So yes, we have a first name and last name. So we do require now email address, mobile number, and salary. Let's add that now. Save it and let's check what we have now. So we have a form, first name, last name, email ID, mobile number, and salary. So we are good here. So once we have our form ready, okay, now we have to bind all the details from here so that we can post this to the server. right? So that once we click on add, so it should get and posted to our server. So let's check how we can do that. All right, so I have already explained to you guys what exactly a reactive form is, like how we can make use of reactive form. So I will be using a reactive form to bind all the form inputs. All right, so for that we need to import here two things, which is your form builder and form group. Let's add it here, form builder and form group. Okay, let's give a name, form value, and initialize it with your form group. Okay, so in the constructor we will inject form builder. All right, so now let's just add everything, all the form controls which we have on this particular form. Let's do it now. All right, so we have this form now. Okay, so we need to have a form control so that this value can bind to our input tags. All right, so for that, on the HTML we first need to have a form group, and the form group should have this form value as its value. Let's add that on the form group. So on the form tag, let's add a form group and give the value which we are using here to bind the data, form value. And for all the input tags, let's have a form control name. Okay, so let's check what error is. Form value can't bind. All right, so we have missed form group because it is a known property of form. So what we have to do, we have to import reactive form module inside this. So let's import reactive form module inside our module. Control save, and the error is gone. So the error was because of we are using reactive form now here. So we need to have this module here. It should be imported inside our app.module.ts file. So now let's check. Okay, so now we are able to see the form now. All right, so now we have our form ready, that values also getting bind, value would also get bind to all these input tags. So now we must have a server on which we will post all our data. So now let's create a server. All right, so for creating a fake server, we will be using a JSON server. This is npm. You guys need to install it. So let's just install the JSON server in our project. So how we can do it, just go into your cmd and just add npm install. We'll install it globally, JSON server. All right, so it is installed successfully. So once it is installed, we need to run it. All right, and for running it, we have all the steps here. Okay, so how we can run the JSON server and all that. So this was installation, and let's check how we can run this. So for running, we just need to use this thing. Let's paste it and hit enter. All right, so now we can see our server is running on this localhost 3000. Let's go here and check. Okay, so we will use one of these resources. So inside the post, I can see there is one data here present already. All right, so now we will be posting all our data to this particular destination. So this will be having all my collections. Whatever the employee I will add, it will get added here inside this collection. All right, so let's do that now. Okay guys, so now we need to create 4 APIs for put, post, delete. All right, so let's check here. So let's verify this, how we can make use of this JSON server. So here you can see there is a documentation already present on this website. So we can make use of get here. Okay, so that by get we can get all the records which is present inside this post. Okay, we can post data as well by using this URL. We can put, we can delete, and we can do patch as well. So we have to use this get, post, put, and delete in this our Angular CRUD project. All right, so let's configure that now. So for doing API calls, I will have a service. Okay, so I'll create a shared service. Let me add a folder here, shared. Okay, and inside the shared I will create one service, API service. So how we can create a service? It's ng s for service, and we have to name the service name. So we will have to create inside the shared folder, the service name will be API. All right, so you can see our shared, we have 2 files. We don't need this spec file as we are not doing testing here, so we'll not require this thing. Okay, so inside our service we'll do all our API calls now. All right, so I'll be telling you how we can do the API calls. Okay, so for doing API calls, the first thing which is required is we need to import HTTP client. All right, let's do that. It is present inside angular slash common slash HTTP. So we need to import HTTP client. All right, so once we have our client here, so in the module we must have HTTP client module so that we can make use of it. All right, so in the module we must have this HTTP client module. All right, so now we can do all the HTTP calls. So we need to inject this HTTP client from constructor. Let's do it now. All right, so now we will have our 4 methods for posting data, for deleting, for updating it, and for fetching all the records. So now let's create for post employee. Let's do that. Let's create a method post employee. All right, so we want to post a data here, so we'll have this parameter on the top. All right, let's return this and let's do the HTTP call. We have to post. Okay, so we have imported wrong, so else it should have shown some intelligence because I have imported wrong here. I need to remove this. I need to have HTTP client. Okay, so now the intelligence will work. HTTP dot, yes, here, there you go. We have to post, so let's make use of post. All right, so let's post the data. Where I have to post, I have to post it here. All right, let's copy this. I have to post this data. Okay, so now I will make use of pipe operator. All right, and I will map this wherever this call is made, so at that particular time it will make use of it. So now let's import map. This is all RxJS concept. All right, guys. Slash operators. So now we can make use of map. Okay. So once we have all our API methods ready, now let's create a model. Okay, employee model, so that we can have all our first name, last name, and we can create an object and we can pass it. All right, in this data. So let's create a model here. Let's add a file, employee dashboard dot model dot ts. All right, let's exploit this class employee model. Given, let's have everything. We will have an id, initialize it to 0. We will have first name, right? We will have a last name, we have an email, we have mobile, and the last we have salary. All right, so once we have this, now let's make use of this model. Now let's create the object in our component.ts file so that we can pass this object to the server, all right, for posting our data. So now let's create an object. All right, so let's have a employee model object. Let's import the model which we have just created and create an object from it, employee model. So now we can make use of this employee model object to post our data. All right, so for posting data, let's create a method, post employee details, and inside it let's first add all the values in the form value inside our model object, so that in the object we can see we have our first name, last name, and everything. So let's have a first name first from our form value dot first name. So now we will be adding everything which will add on the form, so all the value which get appended into this object, and this object will be passed, all right, to post on the server. In the same way we have to do for others as well. All right, let me copy this and all right. Okay, we'll first name, last name, we will have an email ID, and this is the form control name of this. All right, so we are mapping all the value inside this. We will have a mobile number, and we will have a salary. Okay, so now all the values of form are inside this form object. Okay, employee model object. Okay, now let us post the data. So we have our API already created for it, post employee. We must pass a data into it, so our data will be our employee object. So this is dot employee object, and we can subscribe to it. All right, on subscribing it will be throw me a success response. Okay, so on success what we have to do, let's console the value, and let's also add an alert that employee added successfully. All right, so once our response is okay, so it will throw that, else it will throw an error. Let use alert there, something went wrong. Let's save this. So our post employee is ready now. Now we just have to make use of it. So let's copy this method, and I have to bind this to the button click. All right, so when I click on save button, let's go here in the Angular CRUD. Okay, so when I click on this add button, so this data should get posted alright to the server. So we have to bind this to our click event. So let's copy this method and let's go into our HTML file. Alright, so for the add we need to have a click event, and when we press this click button, that add button, so it should trigger this method. Alright, so in this method it will take all my employee object and it will post to our server. So now let's check that if it is doing or not. Well, let's refresh this page and let's check once. So let's add a data here, some Alex Carey, and let's give an email address, the rate, give a mobile number and a salary. Click on add. You can see we have an alert, employee added successful. Now let's check this if our employee is added here or not. Okay, yes, on refresh we can see that our data is getting displayed. Alright, so our post is working. So now what we have to do, right? So whenever we click on post, whenever response is success, this form should get reset. Alright, so let's do that now. So once the alert is successful, what I have to do, I have to reset the form. So what I will do, I will call the form value and I will set it to reset. So I have reset the form now. Alright, so the form is reset. So once our employee is added and I click on alert, so it will get reset. Let's check that. Let's add one more test data. Test. Okay, so, and add a salary. Click on add. Okay, once we click on OK, so form get reset. Okay, so now the other requirement is whenever our employee is added, I need to close this form. Alright, so how can I do it? Let's check that. Okay, let's go to the cancel button. Let's have a ID. Let's give a ID as cancel. Okay, I need to take this ID and I need to click it. So how I can do it? So on our component, I will have a template reference. I will take the reference of it, that native element, and I can close it. Alright, so how I can do it? Let's check that. So let's say let reference is equals to document dot get element by ID, and the ID name was cancel. Alright, so what I have to do, I have to cancel the reference. Alright, so I have to make use of click event so that that cancel button is clicked. Alright, whenever form is reset. Now let's save it and let's check again. Let's add some data again. Test some mobile number and salary. Let's add. Okay, so now you can see the form get closed automatically. So this, in this way we have completed all that, how we can add an employee here. Alright, and also we can refresh the particular form. So in this way we have completed the add employee method. Alright, so we have completed this post employee API call. So now let's do the second call, get. So if you guys see this data here, this is all static. Right, let's go to the HTML and check. So this data is all static here right now. So we have put all the static value here. So what we have to do, I have to get all the record from the JSON server and I have to paste the record on this particular table. Alright, so how I can do it? Let's do that. So now let's have that get API call. Let's do it. Let's create a method now. Get all employee. Alright, so let's do the API call. This dot API dot, we have our get employee method. Let's subscribe to it. So in the response, I need to store this response. All right, here. So let's create particular property for it. Let's have employee data property, and let's make use of it to store the response data, employee data inside it. So I'll store all the response which I'm getting from server inside it, right? And this I have to use it. Alright, this employee data has all my employee, all these three employee inside it. So what I have to do, I have to make use of ng-for so that I can loop to this table. So let's do that now. So inside our the table body, alright, so in this let's make use of ng-for, and we have to loop it. Let row of employee data. Alright, so let's remove all of this, and we will have row dot id. Let's copy it and paste for first name, last name, email, salary. This will be our first name, last name, then we have our email, and then we have our mobile, and the last is salary. Alright, let's save this record. Okay, so we are getting this error because I haven't saved the TS file. So now it is successfully saved. Alright, so now let's call this in our ng on init. This method should be called so that once our application runs, so this API call should be there. Let's save it and let's check our Angular CRUD. So now you can see we are getting all the records here. So now let's do one change here. So once we add a particular employee, it should display at that time. So let's call that method again once we have posted the data. And now let's check if it works or not. Let's give a name to the employee, some number and some salary. Click on add. So now you can see our record is getting appended down it. Okay, so in this way we have done post and get. Now we have to do two things. We have to delete this and we have to update the record. All right, let's do it now. Okay, now let's start for this delete. We need to have a method called when we are pressing this particular button, delete. So it will delete that particular employee from the list. Let's do that now. So inside our controller, or we can say our component, let's create a method for delete. Delete employee. We already have a API created for it. So this dot API dot delete employee. Right, so we need to pass the ID for it. All right, so the ID will be coming from our row. Okay, so let's go in our HTML and let's have this particular method called when our button is clicked. So where is my button? So here on the click event I have to call that method. All right, paste it, and in this I will pass this row so that I can make use of which row is called. All right, so let's go inside it now, and I can make use of this row here as well. All right, so inside our row I will have my ID, row.id, which ID I want to delete, and I can subscribe to it. Now let's subscribe and store the response. All right, I will have an alert here that employee deleted. Control save. So we have done this delete method, and already we have binded it on that particular click event delete. Let's check that if it is working or not. Let's delete this third one. See, we have this alert employee deleted. Press on OK, and when I refresh the page, so it is getting refreshed, but we don't want to do this. Once it is deleted, the page should automatically fetch that latest record. So let's do that. So after our alert is success, at that time I'll again call this get employee method so that it will refresh my data. Let's check. Let's do it for the second record again. Click on delete, employee deleted, press OK. So now you can see we have this our latest record. So in this way we have completed this delete employee as well. Now only one thing is remaining, that when I click on this edit, the model should open up. Alright, so let's do that now. Okay, so when I click on this edit button, okay, so this form should open up in this particular way when I click on this edit. So for that, what we have to do, we just have to copy this attributes. Alright, let's copy these three attributes and paste it here for the edit button. So let's see where our edit button is, and there we can paste. There you go. So let's paste it here. So let's save and now check. When we click on edit, the form should open up, alright? But when I open this form, this value should get automatically filled. Whichever row I am clicking. Suppose I am clicking on the second row, so this should fill all our detail, first name, last name, and all that. So let's do that now. Okay, so in our component, we will have a method on edit. On edit, what it will do, it will fetch the row value, right? And for the row value, I want to set the value of all the forms. So how I can do that form value dot controls. So which control I want to do? I want to do it for first name. All right, first name dot I want to set the value. Which value I want to set? I want to set the value of row dot first name. Because inside our row we have our row dot first name. So in the same way I want to do for all the other controls as well. Let's copy it and paste it 4 more times. Right, so in the same way I have to do for last name, for email, for mobile, and for salary. Let's paste this method on our HTML. Right, let's go to our HTML and just have this method called for this click event. Okay, on edit, I want to call row. Let's save and check. See, we have our data get filled automatically when we click on this edit button. Alright, so now I have to replace this add button. It should be update. Okay, when we are clicking on edit, it should be update, not add. So let's do that now. Okay, let's go to our form. Copy it and let's add one more button. The button name will be update. Okay, so when I click this button, it should update my employee details. So it should not post, it should call update employee. Okay, so let's have a method created on our controller. Okay, so let's do that. I have to update the employees. The same thing we have to do here, whatever we have did for posting the data. Alright, so let's copy this. Whatever is present on the form, I want to pass that inside the object. Alright, let's do that and let's call our API. So inside our API we have update employee. Inside our employee I need to have two things. The first thing will be our data. So data will be our this dot employee object, and the second thing will be our ID, employee ID, which employee I have to update. So I have employee ID added here. Alright, so when I click on edit, at that time it should store my ID value. Alright, so let's have that up is equals to row dot ID. Alright, so from here I am passing two things, my object and my employee ID, which I want to update. Let's subscribe to this method. Subscribe, and on success response I will have an alert updated successfully. Right, once it is updated, what I want to do, I want to close the form. the same way which I did for posting. So let's do that. All right, so in this way we will done the update call as well. Let's check that if it is working or not. Let's click on this update. Let's change the name to Alexi. And okay, so we are not able to see that save button yet. Let's save it here because the HTML file was not saved. All right, so now let's check if I am able to do it or not. So we do have this update button now. Let's change the salary to 60,000 and click on update. So we can see update successful. Press OK, and yes, the salary get changed to 60,000. Let's change the name. Actually, let's change it to Thompson. All right, let's save this. Let's update this on clicking update. All right, so you can see this is getting updated now. All right, so in this way we have completed this update call as well. All right, so one thing is still pending, that when I click on update, then it should hide this particular add button and it should show only update. And in the same way, when I click on add employee, it should remove this all the form. It should reset the form and it should hide this update. So now let's do that. All right, so let's create a method inside our component, so that when we click on add this button, add employee, that method should call. Let's have a method click add employee. The first thing which I need to do is I need to reset the form, so that whenever someone is clicking that form, it should have no value inside it. So let's do that by using form reset. All right, and let's have two boolean value as well. Let's create two property, show add, and in the same way let's create one for show update button. So it will have a property name show update and it will be of type boolean. Okay, so when I click add employee, so at that time it should make show add is equals to true and my show update should be false. So let's make that. And in the same way, when I click on edit, so I have to do reverse. Let's copy these two and let's go to on edit method. When I click on edit, at that time this add button should be false and the show update should be true. Let's save it. And one last thing which I need to change here is when I click on add employee, that method should call this method which I have created on the top, this click add, it should call when I click on that button. So let's have that click event here with this method name. Click and paste the method. All right, now the last thing remaining is we need to make use of ngIf so that I can hide the button. Okay, so let's do ngIf and use the property name show add. All right, so when this will be true, my add button will be visible. All right, let's do for update as well ngIf and property name is show update. Let's verify it now. When I click on add employee, my form is reset and I can only see add button here. And when I click on edit, I can see all the values filled and I can only see this update button. So this comes to an end to our this Angular CRUD tutorial which we had. All right, so if you have any doubt like creating this application, or you have any error faced, then you can mention it in the comment section. I will be there to answer it. In this video, I'd like to mention one thing, that we are taking Angular training which is free of cost. If any one of you are interested in it, then I'll put a link of Telegram channel so that you guys can subscribe to it and you will be notified whenever we are taking a session. Alright, so till that time, bye bye and keep learning.